Welcome back, everybody. So, let me position my mic. Okay, so at this point, I've done. That's not the version that I implemented. That's the version I implemented. I've done a lot of this upper stuff right here. There's probably a couple things that I'm currently forgetting, and I'm not that too concerned with at the moment. We'll update. I'll go through all that as we get going, or as I get going through this and everything, as they occur to me, actually. But what I really want to focus on today is getting this spark graph this line graph going, because this is going to be one of the biggest features for this app, is just showing this up and down curve of where the user is. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add this in, implement it, and style it, and set it all up. And what I'm going to be using is this MPAndroidChart. It is a fantastic charting library. It has not been updated in a couple of months, but it is really good. It is a solid library. It's been around for a long time, and you can see all of the different types of charts that we have. You can do a line chart. You can do this type of a chart. You can do this type of a chart. You can do this and this and this and this, and all the types that you could possibly ever think of. He's Philip Yehoda? Not sure. He's put together like so many different types out there, and it is very extensible, very customizable to create your own chart styles and everything that we want. So let's go ahead and dive in, and let's see, where's my Android Studio? Cool. So here we go. First thing that I want to do is update my main activity to actually include the chart, and that's going to live under the recycler view. So in this case, it's going to be a line chart, and the width is going to be 0 dp because I'm going to have it match the constraints. And the height, I'm actually going to set a height. I think I'm going to set it to about 250 dp. And if there is any reason to shrink that or make it bigger, we can do that later. The reason I'm doing that is because there's going to be, I really want that area dedicated to that chart. I don't want it to be wrapped because that's going to cause some issues later. So we're going to go app start. Whoops. Let me quit Rocket. There we go. Start. Parent. App end. Parent. And then the top is going to be to the bottom of the horizontal calendar. There is going to be no bottom constraint. And then we're going to call this Android ID equals @ID day chart, because it is the a chart of the day, a graph of the day's energy levels, focus, all that stuff. So okay, so there we go. That's what we have. It appears really nicely there. Cool. But next, what we have to do is we actually have to set up the data. We have to get the data in there, and the way they do it is through what are called entries. So I'm going to go to my main view model, and I'm going to create a list of entries. So private val, we're going to do day data equals mutable, because it's going to be changeable, list of entry. And let's make sure we have the correct entry. So the com GitHub Mike Phil charting, and there we go. Okay, next I'm going to end up creating some live data, because I'm going to be observing this list as it potentially changes and gets updated. So I want to be able to set that up. So private val, we're going to say, I'm going to call this, what am I going to call this? Oh yeah, line data set. You'll see that in a moment, why that's the case. And that this is mutable live data. And then we're going to pass in the day data. So then val line data equal, well, it's actually going to be line, whoops, not list, line data set. So line data set is the data. It's a wrapper around the data points for that are going to be for the chart. So we'll go here and we'll wrap up that. There we go. Now it's expecting a label. So I'm going to just create a static label, right? Val chart label equals, we're going to just say day chart. Yeah, this could be const. There we go. Chart label. And now live data line data set equals that. Okay, cool. So what I just did was set up a list of entries for the day's data. Then I set up some live data to observe so that the line data set, remember line data set, it wraps around this list of entries. And this exposes it to my activity to be able to listen to and update the chart for it. All right. So that's good, but there isn't actually any data that we can we can actually do at the moment. Do anything with it. So I'm just going to create some fake data, and we're going to go init. So if you remember Kotlin, init gets called anytime the view model is being instantiated. So anytime the class is being instantiated and created, initialize this. I mean, you use it for what I'm basically going to be using it for, which is setting up some data right off the bat. So I'm going to go, let's see, we're going to go day data dot add. We're going to go entry, and I'm just going to go 0f. And then 5, F. Okay, and you can see it's the float and everything. And these are the XY coordinates in the graph. And you can kind of see here too that I could pass in whatever data that I want. And the reason when you pass in this data is when the user taps on something on there, you can show more of that, more information about it in a label or anything. We may want to do that at a later point. But right now we just want this. I'm going to put in 10 entries to really get this going. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so let's go ahead and start changing this up. Oops. 8, 9. Cool. Let's go for 7, 8. We're going to do 10. We're going to drop down to 7 and then 3 here, and then we're going to jump up to 6, and then yeah, we'll leave that one at 5, and then we'll do this one at 8. All right, cool. So that should create a nice little bit of jaggedness for us. All right, next we're going to do line dataset dot value equals line. Remember, line dataset wraps the data, and then we're going to say chart label. All right, cool. Probably not the most efficient way to use line dataset here. I might be able to use, or I might be able to update the data at some other point, but at the moment this works because it's just getting the data out and getting it together to actually just show off the chart. Okay, next I want to actually observe this. So let's go over to our main activity. I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to do main view model dot line dataset dot observe this line data set. Okay, so in my binding I have an access to the chart, and now I can set the data. But if you notice, when I hover over here, this data expects, okay, come on. It's not helping me. So if I go there, you're probably not able to see this. So I'm just going to go probably set data. Okay, here we go. You can see this a little bit better. So it sets data, and it's expecting what's called line data to set it. So all right. And not a data set. And line data basically just wraps a line data set. So there's a lot of wrapping going on in this chart, and that's very important because at each set, each layer that's being wrapped, you can do a lot of customization, and we'll get to that in just a moment. And now what I need to do is say, all right, binding day chart invalidate. And the reason I need to do the invalidate is because that's going to cause a redraw of the entire graph. And that's fine because I'm going to be constantly changing, or not constantly, I'm just going to be changing this line data. Specifically, anytime any of the users hit a new date, I'm going to change that, or anytime the data gets updated, we'll be able to do something. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and we'll go over to here and give this a moment. It shouldn't really take this long, but it is. So, no, that moved pretty quick. Cool. Okay, cool. There we go. We have our chart, but it's really ugly. Yeah, it's really ugly. It's really ugly. All right, so there's a bunch of stuff that we have to do. We have to get rid of this legend down here. We have to get rid of this label here. We have to get rid of the graph background. We have to get rid of the each of the different side axes and the top x-axis as well. We need to change the color of the line, and we need to get rid of the labels at each point. I mean, really, can anybody really read that? I can't. It's really annoying. But anyway, so we've got our work cut out for us, and this is where we are going to go and spend the majority of our time is just going through and styling all of this and making it look pretty. First up, what we're going to do is we're going to take care of the style of the background of the chart, and we're going to go through and deal with that. Okay, so let's go here. I'm going to create a new class, and the reason I'm creating a new class is if I want to reuse this elsewhere, for example, or configure it in different ways, things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this sparkline style. Now a sparkline is kind of what you see on the tickers and everything, where it just goes up and down, things like that. Okay. And like I said, I'm calling this sparkline a style, and we're going to make it injectable because I'm going to need a context. And to make it injectable, I just do inject. There we go, constructor, private val context. Cool. Now Dagger will pass in the context. We'll build this and pass in the context wherever it is. So first up, what we're going to do is do fun style chart. And in this case, I'm going to be expecting a line chart. So we'll go line chart. Cool. I'm going to say line chart dot apply. All right. Pretty simple, right? So first off, let's get rid of one of these axes. So we're going to get rid of this right-hand axis. So we're going to do right axis right dot is enabled equals false. So that will make it go away completely and utterly, like it'll go bye-bye. If I were to run this, you will see that. And while that's going on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do axis. Ooh. Right, because I didn't apply it. We'll get to that in a minute. Because I need to apply it before it actually works. I'm stupid sometimes. Okay, now I'm going to start working on the axis left. Dot apply. Now we do want the axis to be disabled as well, so it's not visible, but we are going to set some constraints to it, such as axis minimum. So the minimum value that could be possible on that axis is going to be 0f, because you could have 0 everything. And that f, by the way, indicates a floating point, and everything's floating points with MPAndroidChart. Why? Because it's easier. And then the maximum is going to be 10. So maximum that the user could have at one point is 10. So like that's the best. All right. Now we want to mess around with this guy right here, this x-axis. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to go x-axis dot apply. Then axis minimum is basically going to be equal to 0 as well. And then axis maximum is going to be 24f. So 0 hour is midnight, and then 24 is midnight. So from midnight to midnight. We probably are going to want to make this configurable by the user, which is why, again, I'm injecting all of this so that this will be able to look that up depending upon how the user sets everything up. All right, so now is granularity enabled? Yes, we're going to say that it is. All right, the reason what granularity means is each of these different data points right here. Okay? Hopefully we'll be able to, it'll make a little more sense. So then the granularity level is equal to 4f. So you'll see 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then this will be 10. So you're going to see, all right, 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. That's what that is. Like the granularity is the steps in between each of the x-axis graphs. All right, next, we're going to say, all right, set draw grid lines. So that's these vertical X grid lines. Do we want to see those? No, we don't. So I'm going to say true. And then finally, well, probably not finally. Do I want this at the top or the bottom? So position. Its position is X. Goes X. Axis position bottom. Cool. So that's going to be at the bottom. All right. Now we do want to be able to play with it and touch it and do a couple of other things with it. So what we're going to say is set touch enabled equal to true, so the user can touch it. Is drag, so the user can drag their finger across it. True. Let's see. Set scale enabled. Zooming, false. We don't want zooming in. And then set pinch mode, so user can pinch the zoom. We're going to say that's false as well. Now, this guy right here is the description. Let's see. I wonder, set description. So, state description. Do not override. So I'm going to just set this equal to null so that there is no description. And then we're going to say legend, this guy right here, legend dot, let's see, is enabled equals false. All right, cool. So there we go. That's the styling of the chart and everything. That's the injection. Now what I'm going to do is go over to my main activity, and I'm going to say at inject late init var chart style, say sparkline style. Then we're going to go here. We're going to say chart style dot style chart binding dot day. And we're going to run it. And after a few seconds, we'll see if I actually did this all correct, so that it looks close. All right, pretty close. I missed something. I missed the these vertical lines. So let's see, what was that? Let's go over here. Position, set, draw grid lines. False. Not true. Oops. Okay, really cool. There you go. Now, let's see. Set, draw. Now, I want to get rid of this, and that's the axis line. So I'm going to say false, and I'm going to run. There we go. Looks really... the background looks nice. The line doesn't. We'll get there. We'll get there in a moment. For the moment, I'm going to disable the axis minimum and maximum to just kind of get the line to look a little bit bigger. There we go. Yeah. And there's a good reason for that. All right. Now, what you'll notice is I just needed to put this inject here, and the inject in the main activity, and Dagger took care of the rest for me. That's pretty awesome. That's called constructor injection. Don't really need to do much other than say, hey, put your stuff in here, because guess what? The context is here in the app module, and Dagger knows how to do that. Cool, right? So now that I have the chart styled, let's go ahead and get this guy styled, and let's go here. Oops, wrong thing. Where is XD? There we are. So needs what I want basically is a little more thicker line and a nice gradient under here to give it a really neat little shadowy effect. And we're going to play with that, and we're going to get going with that here, well, right now. All right, so let's go back to Android Studio, and we're going to go to the style, and we're going to say fun style line, or yeah, line data set. Then we're going to go line data set equals line data set dot apply. All right, hopefully you can see that properly. There we go. Okay, so first step is basically I want to set the color. So this is where we go. Color equals context compat dot get color. We're going to pass in the context, and it's going to be r dot color dot off white. Pretty cool. Pretty simple, right? All right, so now I'm going to change the values of the text color. So value text color, if we go over here, it's these little guys, these little tiny guys right there that you can't really read. Oh, well, I mean, they're going to go away eventually, but I do want to set the color because when someone taps on it, we're going to want to have that something, have something there all ready for us instead of setting the color then. So r.color dot black 75, and then we're going to say set draw values. So these guys right here, these labels are the values. We're going to say set draw. We're going to go false so that they don't get drawn. And then we're going to say, all right, line width, and that's the thickness of the line, is equal to, we're going to go 3F. I think this is in pixels. No, it's just he's set up a min of 0.2 to 10F. So it's probably something that we're going to end up having to play around with. But he does note that a thinner line is better performance and a thicker line is worse performance. So I assume if we have to be constantly redrawing these like a lot, then we would want to try and go for a little bit of a thinner line. But I don't expect to have to be redrawing these a lot. All right, next we're going to go is, what is it? Is highlight enabled. Highlighting returns true if highlighting is enabled. We're going to go equals false. Actually, probably true because I want to allow the user to be highlighting it. All right, set highlight draw highlight indicators. We're going to say false. And then finally set draw circles false. All right, so what are these circles right here? That's these little points right here that has been set up. I don't want to see those points because then that's not very nice. It doesn't look nice for this. Okay, so now we got to do mode because this is a bit jagged. And what I'm going to say is mode equals line dataset dot mode dot cubic Bezier. All right, a Bezier curve. What is a Bezier curve? How many of you have known it? Where is my? There we go. All right, I actually have it up. This is a Bezier curve. These are Bezier curves. So the idea is basically you set certain points right here, and then the computer will draw a line that best fits those points, and that creates a curve depending upon where the points are. Okay? If you really want to learn more and everything, it's a lot of math, but I do highly recommend like kind of going and look at it and looking it up. It's really interesting how it's set up, but not always. Like this really shows you how it creates the curve for you. So you see each point along here is creating a line that just tangentially touches the curve. And that's how it gets created. So for those of you who are constantly wondering, well, why am I learning all of this math? This is why. So you can write programs that draw this right here. All right. Finally set. All right. So let's go ahead and actually run this first. Oops, not run it. I'm going to apply it. So I'm going to scroll down here. Well, that does its thing in the background. I'm going to go chart style dot apply dot style line dataset, and I'm going to pass in the line dataset, and then we're going to run it. There we go. There, see, really nice. Okay, we do have a slight issue right here where it's getting cut off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the style, and instead of saying axis maximum 10, I'm going to say 11. And there we go. We actually have some nice room in there for us. And you can see that it's got a bunch of padding already built in and margins and such. So that's really, really nice for me. Now, what we want to do is set up a gradient here. And they have the library designer has a set drawable, fill drawable. And this will fill everything under here for you. So all of that. So what I need to do is create a gradient drawable for myself to do this. So basically I go over here and I do drawable, and I say new drawable, and I say BG spark line. Yes. And then I say shape. Or is it gradient? No, shape. And then it's gradient. Then I say Android angle equals, I think it's 270. Let's see, Android start color equals off-white. Android end color equals, we're going to go green. And you can see right here, I've got a gradient of white to green, and the green matches the background. So if I go here and I say, all right, set draw fill to true, so that's going to use the filling that I'm about to set, and I say fill drawable equals context compat.get drawable, pass in the context, r.drawable.bg sparkline, and I go ahead and hit run. Itchy face. Kind of. I mean, it's close. So I kind of want this to be moved up a bit more, so it's not so much there. And I don't want this to kind of get, actually, you know what? I do like that. So I'm going to move this up a little bit. And instead of using green, I'm going to just make it a transparent. So basically an alpha gradient. Center X, let's see, default 1.5, so that center X, center Y is going to be 0.25, right? Maybe it should be 0.75. Let's run that and see how that looks real quick. Yeah, a little more. All right, so 0.9. I'll explain what this does here in just 1 second. Yeah, it's much nicer. Okay, so what this center is it's the center of the gradient, and it goes all the way up here, about 0.9, which is all the way up. If I were to change it to a different one, let's see, Android gradient radius, use level. There's other ones. So we can even do like Android center color equals at color green, and you can see that that brings that all the way up. And it creates a little bit of a nicer one. Okay, but like I said, I want to do a transparent, so we're going to go color name equals transparent. So here, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go back to here and say transparent, transparent. And then we're going to go run. And it shouldn't really look very different, like not that much different at all. And it doesn't. There we go. Very nice. Let's play with this just a little bit more. It's actually probably more for the radius. Never mind. I'm going to ignore that. Get rid of that. All right. So that's really nice. And that's basically everything that we need to do. There we go. Nice styled spark line. So let's go back and adjust the style so that I have that. Run it. Boom. See? We got a nice spark line. Now, I'm not so sure about this now that it's tighter. So maybe I want to adjust my background a little bit instead of the transparent. We'll go here and we'll go something like off-white. We're going to do 75, and then we're going to copy the BF. We'll go to the background. We'll say off-white 75. We'll run this. Yeah, I kind of like that, but what if I did 50? You can see I'm really just playing around with this. And this is kind of what happens when I work with designers. They'll give me some feedback on, yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So they'll give me feedback on, so I'll create and implement their designs, and then they'll sit down and they'll take a look at it and say, what if we did this? What if we did that? I may not even need that center color and just let it go from like white to transparent. And when they ask me that, I'll build it, and then I'll show it to them again, and we'll just have like little quick back and forth and everything. And that's really nice. That's not, I like that back and forth a lot, because we can get some feedback very quickly with each other. Okay, so there we go. That's how it works. Next up, what we're going to do is set up these times down here to look a little more like this. So 4 a.m., 8 a.m., 12 a.m., and then 1600. So 1600 is 4 p.m. if you're not familiar with the 24-hour clock, and then 20. So we're going to set up how to style these and get the correct style in place. I like how this is looking. I might want to try and compress this down a little bit. So let's go and try that really fast and see if that changes anything. So we'll go 200. We'll run. Ooh, that looks nice. So then that way we have a whole lot of room down here to add our sheet down here for all of that. That's really good. And then on smaller screens, I would bet it would look even better. Cool. All right, so there we go. That's it. Next up is going to be styling this appropriately, and then following that, we're going to pull the data from the database and translate whatever the data from the database is to this right here. Yeah. All right. So I will see you and then, well, once that's done, then I got to get the bottom sheet going. And then when the bottom sheet is done, I actually need to get the user to be able to add in stuff. And then we'll get into this right here. All right. So see you in the next video.